Hey YouTube, welcome to Sunkerns Lab. Today I have an NU battle on Pokemon Showdown. This was a really close battle, a really great battle, but before I actually get into the team and the narration and whatnot, as you can obviously tell, I'm Sunkerns Lab. I'm not WNH Test, so I am on the other side of the battle, so just keep that in mind when you're watching this. I try not to post battles like this, but this was such a good battle, and it came down to... It was a great battle, that's all I'm going to say, and I truly, during the battle, I loved playing it, and I am going to love narrating it as well, because in my opinion, it was a really, really great battle. So, anyway, looking at my opponent's team, he has got what is pretty obviously a Volt Switch core in the Electabuzz and the Ninjask. I also have a Volt Switch team, as you can probably tell, with the Swellow, the Natu, the Ampharos, and the Probopass. All of them have a form of Volt Switch going on. So this is going to be, effectively a battle that comes down to who can get the momentum and take advantage of it the best. Or at least that's what I perceived at the beginning. The advantage that he does have, however, is that his Voltturn core is much faster than the majority of my Voltturners, obviously with the exception of Swellow, which I'm sure his Electabuzz is scarfed, so my Swellow can't really outspeed that regardless. So he has a very fast Voltturn core, and that might be an issue. So anyway, looking at his team, his most likely lead would probably be that Piloswine, because Piloswine can almost under every condition set up Stealth Rocks. Outside of the fact that I have a Natu, which, I mean, obviously it's weird. You don't normally see Natu in NU, but other than a Natu, Piloswine can almost always set up rocks on the first turn. So I'm predicting him to lead off with his Piloswine. He ends up leading off with his Ninjask, however. I do lead off with my Natu, and the reason why I did that rather than leading with something else and then switching it to my Natu is because I didn't want anything else to take an Ice Shard on the possible Volt Switch or U-turn. But he ends up going for the U-turn, goes out into his Piloswine. I predict him to switch out to his Piloswine, and I go for the Nightshade just to get off a little bit of damage and hopefully wear this thing down for later. Now I am predicting him to go for the Ice-type move, so what I'm going to do is go for the Roost here and let him get off some damage with the Ice-type move. And basically what I'm doing here is making him think that I'm going to keep Roost stalling him to make him want to go for the Ice Shard so that I can switch into my Scolipede for free. But he ends up predicting me to go for the Roost again, and because he's slower, he goes straight for the EQ, which does a large chunk of damage to my Scolipede. And then the Ice Shard on the next turn actually takes me down to Swarm range, and I'm able to get off a Life Orb. I'm pretty sure I messed that up verbally. Anyway, I'm able to get off a Swarm boosted, Life Orb boosted Stab Megahorn on this thing, which does 40% to what is most likely a physically defensive Piloswine, so that's pretty great. And I am able to get a free switch into my Ludicolo, and I'm going to go straight for the Giga Drain rather than setting up Rain Dance, because I do know that he has that War Turtle, which can live any one hit, and I don't want to set up the Rain just yet. So I am going to go for the Giga Drain, switch out on his incoming Ninjask, and obviously he's just going to go for the U-turn, but I don't really have anything that wants to take that U-turn, because if I switch into my Probopass to take the U-turn, I lose momentum. So I decided to go into my Natu, and at this point I have two options. I can either fodder my Natu now, or I can go into my special defensive Probopass to take a Volt Switch and once again lose momentum. But unfortunately I don't really have a choice here, because I need to keep that Natu around for certain things later on, and we'll see why. But he ends up going for the Volt Switch, as obviously I'm going to lose momentum, and then he goes into his Tauros, and this is what I needed my Natu for, because I need to go into my Swellow, get my Toxic Orb activated as he goes through the Earthquake, or at least this is what I was hoping to do, and then U-turn out and go into my Natu as Death Fodder. But unfortunately he goes for the Substitute, which it still does the same, I still accomplish the same goal. I get my Toxic Orb activated, and I'm able to U-turn out into my Natu as Death Fodder, predicting the Rock Slide or possibly the Rock Climb, or even the Stone Edge of the Return, since he does have Intimidate rather than Sheer Force. So I do go into my Natu, predicting to just die, but he ends up missing the Stone Edge. It's not going to matter, because on the next turn he's just going to go straight for the return and take out my Natu, which is fine, because like I have previously said like 3 times, I brought this thing in specifically to die, and I did keep it around for Death Fodder. So I'm able to leave that in, let it die, and then I'm going to go right into my Swellow, because my Swellow is the only thing on my team that can really outspeed him. And instead of going for a U-turn predicting a switch, I'm going to go, or do I go for the U-turn? No, I go straight for the Facade, and the reason why I go for the Facade rather than the U-turn is because I figured he would go into this Piloswine, and if I switched out, if I went for the U-turn and didn't kill him, I didn't have anything that I really wanted to switch in, because I didn't want my Ludicolo taking too much life orb damage. So went for the Facade, did the damage and whatnot. So anyway, now he brings in his Electabuzz, which once again, like I said in the preview, I'm predicting this thing to be Scarfed. So I'm actually going to switch into my Ampharos, predicting the Volt Switch, and this is kind of the start to a momentum shift, because so far on this battle, he's basically had the momentum from the get-go, and I really need to turn that around in my favor. So by going to my Ampharos, I can take any one hit from any Pokemon on his team, because I am max HP rather than max speed, and he ends up going into his Tauros, which because his Tauros is not the Sheer Force Life Orb set, it's leftovers with Intimidate, I'm able to take that Earthquake, and with a decent amount of health left on top of that, go for the Volt Switch, get a huge amount of damage off, and go out into my Swellow. And my goal here is basically just to go for the U-turn, and I can either kill him off, or I can do some damage to whatever he switches in. And his best play was probably to switch into his Wartortle, because he does need that Tauros to deal with my Probopass. So he does switch into his Wartortle. I get a little bit of damage off with the U-turn, which is fine, but that does allow me to actually switch right into my Ampharos, and once again go for the Volt Switch. And at this point, like I said previously, momentum is starting to shift in my favor, and I'm really enjoying that because I'm able to go for the Volt Switch on this turn, and because I know that this thing is Scarfed, or at least I'm assuming it's only sensical for this thing to be Scarfed, so I'm pretty sure it's Scarfed, and I can go right into my specially defensive Probopass, which is nearly at full health, take even a Focus Blast, and go for my Rock, get my Rocks up, and stop that Ninjask from switching. And so he goes for the Focus Blast, he hits it, which is, fine. I go for my Rocks, get my Rocks up, and my Probopass actually lives it. And these next few plays are key, because he doesn't want to stay in and risk missing the Focus Blast, and it also allows him an opportunity to switch into his Wartortle. Now, I might not want to stay in, but I'm predicting him to actually miss a Focus Blast, and I know it's relying on hacks, but I don't really have much of a choice. But he ends up actually just switching out anyway, and I end up Thunder Waving his Wartortle. And now I'm going to go for the Volt Switch on the next turn, because my goal here is to Volt Switch out of his Wartortle, bring in my Ludicolo on the Rapid Spin, and set up a Rain Dance, and hopefully tear a hole through his team. So that's basically what I'm going to do. He ends up going straight for the Rapid Spin. I don't have a Ghost type on my team, so there's no reason for him to overprotect in any way. So he does end up going for that Rapid Spin. I go for the Rain Dance on the next turn, and then he's going to go for the Scald, most likely hoping to burn, because obviously it's 4 times resisted, it's not going to do much damage. But he doesn't get the burn. I'm able to go for the Giga Drain, get a little bit of health back, and after Life Orb damage, I'm basically at full health minus the Life Orb. So, pretty good health to be sitting at when I have the Rain up, and I'm faster than his whole team. So he goes into his Ninjask. It's not faster than me, even, with Ninjask's blazing speed. So I'm able to take the thing out with an Ice Beam, and then he brings in his Kadabra, and I could have, at this point, gone for a Hydro Pump and hopefully killed him if he didn't have a Sash. But I was kind of predicting him to have a Sash, and I wanted to break the Sash, go for the Giga Drain, live any one hit, and then proceed to kill him off on the next turn with whatever move. But he ends up critting me with Signal Beam, and that crit actually does make a big difference, because even a Spec Signal Beam would not have killed me. Never mind a Life Orb or a Focus Sash one, so it's not the end of the world, but it did end up killing me off, so it just basically made this match all the closer, I guess you could say. But I am able to get a free switch into my Swellow. I'm obviously going to be faster, so I'm going to go for the U-turn and get out of there and go into my Probopass. And this is kind of the key moment. He can either bring in his Tauros, and I have a free switch into that, anything I want at that point, or he can bring in his Electabuzz and try to kill me with a T-Bolt. But unfortunately, his Thunderbolt doesn't kill me, and if you actually noticed from the turn before, because I switched my Probopass in on the end of the turn, I got my Leftovers recovery, and actually lived with that Leftovers recovery. So definitely was a close survival, and I was able to Thunder Wave his Electabuzz, which actually wins the match for me, because at this point, if I had not Thunder Waved that Electabuzz, he would have easily swept my team with Thunderbolt. But luckily, because I did Thunder Wave it, I'm able to go out into my Swellow and finish off his Electabuzz with the Facade, and obviously I'm going to be able to outspeed this Tauros and finish off the Tauros, because it's only at 9%. Even after the Intimidate, of course, I'm going to be able to kill that thing off, and that will be the end of this game. It was a really close match. I know it was a 2-0, so it's not as close as like a 1 HP living 1-0, but in my opinion, it was a really good battle, and worth uploading, even though it was on the other side, because I felt like the initiative, the Volt Switch And the Voltturn initiative was really playing in both of our favors. The momentum shifted a lot on this match, and I just felt like it was a really good battle overall. Even ignoring those facts, I think that it was a relatively close battle, and it definitely could have gone both ways in any case. So yeah, that's pretty much all I really have to say. I don't really want to ramble too much about the battle. I just want to say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to click that like button or leave a comment on this battle or suggestions for other videos or anything really, whatever you want. So once again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.